You didn't have to wait weeks or months. It wasn't such a long, drawn out situation. You know, you could meet up right away and get it cracking, get it popping. You didn't have to jump through all these hoops and these obstacles. Man, we didn't go to no restaurants and out on fancy dates. That's some new shit. I probably didn't start going on real dates until 2015 or something. That's when you had to start taking women out to restaurants. What's up, guys? This is your boy Moose Hef coming back at you with another YouTube video. And today's topic is gonna be about the different eras of dating. You know, I have this conversation with a lot of youngsters on how dating is very difficult now. You know, they always ask me, how was it when you was coming up? Was it this hard to date and meet women? Like, nah, it wasn't like that, you know. And, you know, back in my prime, you know, the early 2000s, up until around 2011, 2012, when the smartphone came along, and that's when the game changed. You know, dating before then, it was very easy. You know, you didn't have to take women out on these dates and to restaurants, and it wasn't that difficult back then. Back then, you could just meet a chick and, you know, y'all exchange numbers. You could go to her house and she'd come to your crib and y'all just watch movies and chill. You know, you didn't have to take her to no restaurant, shit like that. You might go to a movie or something like that, but that was it, man. It was easier back then. You know, women wasn't scared to go to a man's house, you know, back then. Like, shit, you can meet a woman and that same day, she'll come to your house and hang out with you. You know, y'all watch some movies. And back then, DVDs was popular. That was way before streaming services, of course. But, you know, y'all hang out, watch movies, smoke, drink, if that's what you choose to do or chose to do, then that's what it was, you know, and it wasn't an issue. You know, I used to invite females over and cook. You know, I had my own place. My crib was laid out, you know, and I used to invite females over and I'll cook up some spaghetti, some chili, you know, shit like that. But I didn't have to take them out on no dates, you know. Everything was done inside the crib. And they enjoyed it so much that, you know, they always want to come back. You know, sometimes they didn't even want to go home, you know. But, you know, vice versa. Sometimes they invite me over to their house. They cook, we hang out, and, you know, spend the whole weekend with them. But, you know, it was easier back then because you didn't have to deal with all the weird shit that goes on today. You know, people wasn't as weird or as mentally ill back then, you know, where they were harming people and shit like that. You know, nowadays you gotta be safe and take safety precautions. So it's not wise to invite people over to your house if you don't know them, if they're strangers. But back then, like I said, hey man, you could meet a chick and it could be that same day and she'll come over to your crib and hang out and kick it with you, you know. But it's very difficult now. And I'll say all this changed around 2012, you know, or 11, you know, whenever the smartphone came along. When we moved on from the flip phone into the smartphone with all the apps and all that shit, that's when the whole game changed. When these dating apps came along, when Instagram came along, when Facebook came along, and women had all of these options available to them, that's when the dating market totally changed, you know. Nowadays, you gotta take them out to these restaurants and fancy dates and shit like that. All that's some new millennial like bullshit. It's like a fantasy that women have come up with and they want to act it out. They want to live that shit out. So, you know, that's the difference between back then and now. And, you know, I chop it up with a lot of youngsters and they ask me, man, did you have to go through all this shit? And I'll be like, nah, it wasn't that hard back in my day, you know. You know, back then they had dating lines, you know, where you call on the phone and you describe yourself and you'll say what you looking for. Hey, I want to hang out tonight. What's up for the weekend? And then, you know, but you would have to deal with being catfish, you know, because you never knew what you was getting into. Because that was like kind of even before camera phones. That was like before camera phones when women could send you pictures. So it was like a crapshoot, you know. When you pull up to meet her, she might look like Freddie Jackson instead of Janet Jackson. But yeah, that was the only thing back then. But, you know, once women got a hold of these dating apps and they had all these options available, that's when the dating game totally flipped. You know, nowadays this shit is just out of control. Back then, man, it wasn't as hard. Now you didn't have to jump through hoops and shit like that. You can meet a chick in a grocery store. You can meet a chick at the mall. You know what I'm saying? You can meet a chick on a bus stop. You know, it was easier to approach women in person. You know, it was organic, and women were open to that. But nowadays, you can't approach somebody in a grocery store. You can, but you know, they might call you weird or think that you cuckoo in the head for approaching them. You know, but yeah, the dating eras have changed and it's flipped. You know, back then, when I was coming up, the men had the power. You know what I'm saying? The men was in control. You either sold dope or, you know, you had some type of hustle where you had money. So women were attracted to that. You know, the men was on top. The men was the big dogs. But now that shit done flipped, where the women got the power, and it's because of social media and all the access that they have to men and all the fucking options available to them. That totally flipped the game. And then now you got men that are raised different. You know what I'm saying? Like, they soft and they give up control to the woman. So the women are like the men now, and the men are like the women. You know, the shit just done totally flipped around. So that also made it difficult. But you know, when I was coming up, man, men were in charge and we had the ball in our hands. But now women have the ball in their hands and they running the score up. So you gotta stay on your P's and Q's. You gotta be up on game. And that's why I try to make these videos to help y'all figure this shit out and navigate through these waters of this fucked up ass dating market, you know. So that's how it was back then. That's your video for today. Like, subscribe, share, and follow me on Instagram at Moosef. Until next time, peace.